We're going to talk about booking your first guest star credit. So you're going to be the first guest who's going to talk about that for me. So I want to give some context for people who end up watching this video, a little bit of background on you. So obviously you've been doing this for a long time. You've been a veteran. You've been a working actor for a lot of years. You are a headshot photographer. You're an acting audition coach, which I highly recommend. And you write and direct your own films. And many of your films, have ended up in film festivals, and you've done really well. So, you've been in the game for a really long time. A lot of actors who have a bunch of co-star credits, and they want to book their first guest star credit. And a lot of them struggle to make that jump, or some struggle, or some are kind of waiting for that next step in their career. So I think for those people watching this and hearing about your experience will be very useful.
Yeah.
And I want to know how long or how many years you've been acting before you booked your first guest star, which was Gotham, just so for people tuning in.
Probably over 20, 24.
20 years. Okay.
Yeah, I had a lot of co-stars prior to that booking.
Yeah,
and
I was
went
gonna
in
get
for, and then I went in for a couple series regulars, and the guest stars are harder because it's a smaller group that they call in, and I kept telling my manager at that time, I had a different manager. I said to her, we got to flip it. I can't keep going in for these co-stars. And the co-stars, when I first was doing them, TJ, it was like 4 pages. Now they're a page, sometimes they're a couple of lines. So at that point, I've been doing it so long, I said to her, I'm not going in for those. I don't want to go in for those unless it's a great show, unless I haven't been into that office and I'd like to reestablish a relationship. So she said, okay. So when Gotham came up, it was actually not a very large guest star. Yeah. And I think it was like 2 pages. And at first I was kind of like, you think I should do this? And she said, yeah, go in, you never know. And when I read it, I actually saw a lot of humor in it. So I went in and it was brand new. It was the first season, so they didn't really have a tone yet. Okay. And the little that I have seen of it, I said, wow, it's kind of campy a little bit, Yeah. So I went in there with a little bit of camp, and the first thing the girl said was, it's real.
Hold on. Before we get to that audition day, just a little bit more context in terms of, so before you got that audition, obviously you have a bunch of co-stars, a lot of co-stars, and then you've been auditioning a lot. But can you remember how many guest star auditions you had before you booked the Gotham one?
Oh, I would say over a dozen. Yeah, over a dozen. Okay. Yeah, over a dozen. Maybe not even that many. Okay. Like I said, they were hard to come by because, if there's a certain amount of people going in for guest stars, a lot of them are also recur or have been a series regular, or they like names. Yeah. So your pool is very different. When I started to only want to go in for guest stars, my audition numbers dropped significantly. Okay. And it was a risk. It was a risk, Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about audition day. Do you remember getting the call for Gotham? I know it was just like any other audition, but do you remember that day when you got the call?
I do. My manager was the one that gave me the. Actually, no, it wasn't my manager. At the time, I was with an agent. Okay. And the TV agent from that agency, Oscar, would always call me and be like, "All right, brother," he'd say, "What are you doing on this day?" And that's how he would always tell me how he was going nice. That I booked it. I said, why? Did I book it? And he goes, you booked it. And I remember I was like walking into, getting off the bus from Manhattan to go to another appointment. So I was stoked, so excited.
Okay. And do you remember how many pages was it?
I think it was like 3 pages. I had some chunks at the beginning. They ended up cutting a lot, but it was about 3 pages.
3 pages.
And I was established with this gangster group, and my scene was with Jada Pinkett and Drew Powell. Nice. That was fun. To hang out with Jada. She was great.
Yeah. Okay, and I have a very interesting question for you. So, because since you're an acting coach and audition coach, do you prep yourself, or obviously when you have a self-tape, I'm sure you're gonna, you're gonna need some help with the reader and all that. But if it's just an in-person audition, do you prep yourself, or do you actually seek help sometimes?
No. What I usually do, I had one time when I got the Jessica Jones recurring, I had a friend come over in the morning and drill lines with me because I wanted to be really off book.
Okay.
And that's what I ended up doing.
Okay.
So I drilled lines and drilled lines and drilled lines until I had it. Same thing with FBI. It was like I had to drill lines and drill lines because I got it the night before.
Got it. Okay.
2 of them were last minutes. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Cool.
I'm teaching till 10:30. I don't get home till about 11:15. And then I have to work on lines. So I got up extra early and I just studied for like 2 hours, got them down. And then I had somebody just drill lines with me. So at least I understood that I wasn't going to worry about the lines.
Yeah. Okay.
But no, I generally don't work with someone unless it's a big gig. I mean, if I was going in for another series regular, man, you bet I'll probably call somebody.
Okay. So let's talk about audition day. You get there obviously on time, I'm assuming. And then how's the room like? Were there a lot of people waiting for the role?
Yeah, it was. It was Beth Bowling,
Okay.
and Kamisha. It was pretty busy. It was kind of packed. It was I think they were back on in the Tribeca area.
Okay.
And I was in a suit. I had to be in a suit. I knew that much. And it's funny because I never really played gangsters, so I didn't really think this was my thing. Sometimes I know it when I go in. I'm like, I can play this, And not that I couldn't play it. I just thought if they want more character-y, they're going to go more character, I generally don't book a lot of the the hardcore gangsters. I usually play more of the lighter gangster or somebody who's in that world who knows the gangster.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, I had fun with this one. And as I was saying before, can I tell you this a little bit?
Yeah. Go ahead.
When I was doing the audition, she said, no, Anthony, I love what you're doing. She goes, but it's more serious. It's more like, a drama. And I was like, oh, okay. And I just flipped it and then I did it a little serious. But I read it kind of quirky.
Yeah.
And fast forward to when I booked it, I'm on set. The director kept coming over to me going, something's wrong. And I was like, okay, let me try this. Let me try that. And it was because I was taking the status away from the guy that was with me because that's the way, I had did it in the audition. Okay. And then I tried it more kind of quirky, kind of goofier. And he was like, that's it. So you never know, like, if they looked at both tapes and they liked it. I don't know. I mean, I'm not there when they show it to the producers. But I just laughed at the idea of, usually they don't give you direction on these things. They, they'll just say, hey, nice to meet you. You'll be doing this, that, and the other thing. They'll shuffle you here and there. And then you pretty much do what you did at the audition. So I was doing what I did at the audition.
After you did the audition, when you left the room, did you feel like you had it? Or you had no clue?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely felt good. Here's my theory, man. I tell my students this. It's timing, type, talent. Your timing's got to get you in the room. Your type has got to land there. So when they see you, they go, oh, wait. That's kind of what I was envisioning. And then you got to just really deliver how the script, what the script is providing you. So my job is to honor the script, and then I bring me and see what happens. Or a version of me, like there's thousands of us, within ourselves. Somebody just came on. Who's that? Yeah. So, so for me, I kind of always leave feeling this way rather than going, I'm going to book it. Okay. I kind of leave saying, I left myself in the room. I'm good, whether I book it or not. That's how I feel.
All right. Did you have a callback by any chance for this?
That I did have a callback. Yes.
Oh, you did. Okay. Let's talk about the callback.
Yeah. So here's, sometimes you get the callback, sometimes you don't. Depends on, I think, how fast they need that to be cast. Particularly that one, I think there was more time because it was a new show.
Okay.
So I did go back 2 days later. And then I knew I was in the, the cluster of whatever, how many people they brought back. I think callbacks are generally like 4 or 5 or 6 at the most.
Okay.
So then you're in a better ratio, right? Because now you're seeing it. And then I always look around and go, oh, all right, there's an older version of me. there's a more character version of me. So now it comes down to what's going to suit the story and not about me. It's not about if I did anything right or wrong.
Okay. During the callback session, were there like producers there on just the casting
I
director?
think they were showing it to producers. The director was there, and I think there was like 2 of the writers there, and that was it. It wasn't as big as a room. Like when I went in for Blue Bloods and booked that, that's like a big room full of like, I would say a good 10, 11 people. Law and Order, same thing. 10, 11 people are in a room.
Yeah, that office I heard. Yeah, Jonathan Strauss. That office I heard, even for co-star roles, they have.
Oh yeah, they have everybody in the room.
They even have callbacks for co-stars and stuff. Yeah.
Well, the only time you get callback, I think, is when they don't know you enough. So in my first few on Law and Order, I was on 7 Law and Orders over the last, 15 years. And my first one, they would bring me in as a pre-screen, and then they bring you later in the night to meet the producers, the writers.
Okay.
Once you kind of know who you are, then you go straight to producer session. And then from there, they can cast you. But they all have to be like in alignment, which I think is great. I always feel like I earn it.
Yeah. So let's go back to callback just for one more second. How many takes did you do? Do you remember?
I think that was 2. I think that was 2 because I was still like unsure how I was going to play it based on the couple of different things that they had me try. For example, when I went in for FBI, I stumbled 3 times on a line. And I was really like knowing this role. I felt this guy, and I don't know why. It just really was fun to play. Yeah. And the casting director said to me, you know what? I need a clean take, so we're going to do it again. And I think we got 4 takes, which I never do that. But it was kind of mouthy, and I had to get the rhythm. It's about rhythm and knowing the language. And once you kind of get it, a couple of like little rehearsals, and then I was good. Then I was like, all right, this is. And I walked out feeling, in that particular audition, I felt. Okay. And that was a guest star, and I felt definitely like that could have possibly been a booking, but you never know. I mean, you just never know.
Yeah. Now, fast forward to getting the call that he booked. Do you remember where you were? What were you doing, and who did you get the call from? Your agent or?
Yeah, my agent. Yeah, my agent always called. I think I was like walking through the city, like I said, going through another. Yeah, I think I was going through another. This is a long time ago. Gotham's a long time ago. Yeah. I can tell you what I was doing when I went in for the wardrobe fitting. Now that was fun because I was in like $1,000 suit and like just like all these accoutrements that I don't wear this. I don't own $1,000 suit, and I remember just putting this on, man. I was like, man, this is cool. It was like Armani this and Armani that, and I had these great shoes, and I was taking pictures. I was trying to remember the labels, and that's fun, because you don't even think of it when you watch the show how expensive the wardrobe is, and it really gives you a sense of the characters. Okay. But I love wardrobe fittings. It's like kind of like you work with them and you talk with them. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about the shoot date. Being on set. You're used to it. I mean, being on set, working with professional actors.
Yeah, I mean, I've done so many films now. So to me, a set is a set, right? And then the difference is that you have a hell of a lot more people on TV and a hell of a lot more crew. Yeah. So everything's just a little bit more
Was it any different? Was it any different, though? Because being a co-star actor and co-star recurring, but now you are on set as a guest star actor. Like, was it any difference if there's any, like in terms of, I'm sure a trailer could be different sometimes. I don't know.
Yeah, if I was on location, they probably would have had a different trailer for the guest stars, I guess. Yeah. But I was actually on a set. Oh, so I was in a dressing room. Yeah. I was in a nice dressing room, but it was a dressing room. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Usually if you're on set, you'll have dressing rooms. They don't give you the trailer. Or if you're on location, they can sometimes put you up in a hotel. Yeah. I can tell you this though, when I went in for the read, and then Jada comes down in her robe and slippers and her hair in curlers, she had this like big curly, because they had to poof her hair up, and she was so sweet, and we were just talking, and at one point we didn't even say much, and we just kind of looked at each other, and then I went hi, and she went hi, and then it was you know, we'll see you in an hour, and we come back and then we shoot it. And so that was kind of fun, you know, just to see how it was so relaxed for her, and she had a lot of questions. And then when we were done, I sometimes asked to take pictures. I didn't have my phone on me because I didn't want to bring it into the set, but I looked at her. I said, you know, I'm a fan of you and your husband, and is there any way I can get a picture? She went, absolutely. Where's your camera? And I went, I don't have it. She goes, go get it. So she waited. You know, she was a sweetheart. She was a sweetheart. Yeah.
For Gotham, I mean, because it's your first guest star credit, you know, no matter what, it is your first on Gotham. Did you feel like, did you feel special being on set? I know it was one day guest star, but
no, I did. It didn't feel that different because I got to be honest, I had bigger scenes, I felt, as a co-star. I had bigger scenes as a co-star on Law and Orders, which I thought was interesting that, you know, this was a guest star. And it's not to take away that it was a guest star, but I almost thought it could have been a co-star, but I was involved in the world and the story, and they were looking at possibly having a recurring because of that. And then they killed all the gangsters, and then that changed. And I was like, oh, I guess I'm not coming back. But yeah, I mean, I didn't feel that different, to be quite honest. I mean, they treated me nice. But I got to tell you, you know, co-stars are treated well. As well. The difference, I think, with a guest star is you get to hang out sometimes with the series regulars. Like where my chair was, it was with the regulars. I will say, when I worked on Law and Order SVU, I was on it for 4 days. The difference, now here's the difference. The difference was people started to know my name. And they clapped me out when I rapped. That was the only time I ever got clapped out. When I was on Jessica Jones, I actually ended up blocking the whole thing. And I was like, can I try this? Can I do that? And she wanted me to have something in my hand. I was like, can I have a cup? Do you have like a mug? She was like, yeah. And she brought me over, and I was like, cool. So they were working with me. That was the difference. But I'm a pain in the butt anyway when I'm on set when it comes to those things. I'm always asking, like, can I do, you know, can I try this? Sometimes they say yes, sometimes they say no. And you go, okay.
I think every production, every show is different, you know, sometimes how they work, you know, some people are very close, some people, like you said, some co-stars, you know, you might feel a little bit distant, you know, you don't get to interact. Because when I did the recurring, the only credit I have on The Resident for 2 episodes, and I worked for 4 days, I was just hanging out with the series regulars the whole time. And they were just, you know, they were really welcoming, friendly, and they said, hey, come eat with us. Come eat with me, you know. And we were just talking about sports, you know, Trump, and and we were just talking about different things. And I guess every production is different, like you said, and how fast they're moving, you know, what's going on during that day. On The Resident, it felt really like a family, and they had no reason to treat me in a way that's like I felt like a series regular. You know, the way I was being treated by others. There's no reason for them to do that.
There's a definite opening in a.
It was their own choice, and I remember leaving my final day. I'm in the car. I'm about to go in the park, but I didn't want to leave because I had such a good time. Not just, you know, booking the role, but just being around these wonderful people. And I always wonder if, let's just say, they weren't as welcoming, and if it felt like more like a professional job, and you know, who knows? My feelings could be different. You know, let's wrap it with this.
Buddy.
What would your advice to actors who are trying to book their first guest star? And I'm talking about mostly actors with some co-stars, because, you know, I feel like you're like the perfect example. If that's, I guess you can agree. Maybe you were on the co-star phase, you know, for a long time before you booked your guest star role. So what advice would you give? I mean, of course, there's a lot of external factors, of course.
And a lot of luck. It's a lot of luck.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, I think it's manifesting, you know, what you want. For example, when I was going in for my final co-star, I said to my agent, we have to make this year about booking the guest star. I don't care if I have to wait. So that's kind of how it went down. So he was like, all right, you know, you're not going to have many auditions. And they were right. And then the Gotham came in, and I was just thrilled to get into the room, because sometimes they they'll bypass you.
Yeah.
So to me, that was I think if you're a young actor, if you got at least 6 co-stars and you want to bump, then just hold out maybe. So here's my rule now, which I tell my agent. I say, unless it's significant co-star, meaning it's got some meat and potatoes, I'm not just saying 1 or 2 lines. If there's, if I have something to do in the script, then I'll go in for it. I said, but for the most part, he knows not to do it unless it's something that could be a possible recur. So that's kind of how the dialogue has to be open to your agent. You can't just out of the blue, all of a sudden get in on a guest star unless they're submitting you for everything and then you get the audition. But
so communicating.
You have to have dialogue.
Yeah, communicating.
Have a dialogue with your have a dialogue with your representation.